Thank you for watching LNG. I'm Jamai Hakwani. I have Attorney General Gary King in the studio today with me. He's a Democratic nominee, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here, Jamai.
So you made it to this point, and I know you got an uphill climb there a little bit there, according to some of the polls, some of the people talking on the left and the right and everything. There's a little bit of work there. I think you already know that.
We're working hard every day.
Yes. So far, how are you feeling?
You know, I feel good. I think that it is a competitive race. I think that New Mexico gubernatorial races are generally very close because people in New Mexico pay attention to who's running for office, and they're usually pretty good on the issues. And so we're working hard to get our issues out there. And people know me because I'm the Attorney General. I've been the Attorney General for 7 years, and so I think I have a record. I think my opponent has a record, and so we're looking forward to getting out there and meeting the public and making our. For me to make my point of what I think I can do for New Mexico.
And you have a pretty decent record, going all the way back to the legislature. And you came in, and then you came in as Attorney General. Even in the legislature, you have. I think you just have to kind of start doubting it. I think that's what a lot of the people are saying. That I'm not sure exactly. I mean, you know your campaign really well. You've been in it for many years. You know how to conduct yourself as far as politics end of it. Yeah. But let's get into the economy, and we'll talk about that a little bit, and then we'll take it from there and go into some of the other. Since it's a conversation, I always say you never know where it's going to end up, but it's always going to be in the political arena there. So the economic conditions, I know we're always, the last few years, since the Second World War, they're saying this is the worst economy ever. Nationally, I know we're reflecting the national a little bit, but then when you look at our own economy here as far as the state, we're one of the worst states in this southwestern region. You look at Texas, creating a lot of jobs. Looking at Colorado, tons of jobs. Arizona, even Utah and Nevada. What do you think is going on as far as, I know when Governor Martinez came in, she promised to create, naturally, quite a bit of jobs there, and she wanted to use some of the austerity policies there to bring jobs to New Mexico. In the last few years, we see nothing has been created as far as jobs. Aside from the austerity, do you feel there's something else that was missing in the current administration that she could have done to create these jobs?
Oh, I think that there are lots of things that we can do, and indeed the statistic that's most disturbing is that as the rest of the country is coming out of the recession, New Mexico is not. We have the lowest job growth of all 50 states. I saw some statistics the other day that said that we continue to lose jobs in New Mexico, and people are leaving New Mexico. We're losing population as well, and I think that that's a drag on the economy all by itself. So we have to, I think, really focus on what it takes to create jobs in New Mexico, and that's going to be the number one issue for me as I run, and certainly as I become the governor. As part of my career, I actually worked for the Department of Energy, and my job was to help develop new high-paying jobs in areas that were impacted by job layoffs in the Department of Energy during that time period back in the 90s. And so one of the things I know is that sort of the old trickle-down theory where you just say we're going to give some tax cuts, and we think that that'll encourage business to come to New Mexico.
Why do you think, Gary, that didn't work? Well, I mean, we thought that once you gave certain tax breaks to certain larger corporations, they would actually come and spend money in the state. So why do you think we failed there?
Well, for one, every other state is doing that as well, and so there's sort of this race to the bottom to say, how much can we give away, and that really hasn't worked very well. And I also think that that sort of trying to just lure the great white whale, the big businesses, has not worked very well for New Mexico. In New Mexico, I think that we really need to focus on growing businesses that we have here in New Mexico already.
The smaller businesses.
The smaller businesses, businesses that have 10 employees. I always say that if you have a business that has 10 employees and you help them employ one more person, that's 10% job growth. And we haven't really had any policies in New Mexico that help small business. And some of that's tax policy, but a lot of it's infrastructure. We live in an era now where it's all about having access to the internet, having access to the World Wide Web. A lot of people can have a business wherever they want to in the world, as long as they have good broadband access. And so, there are places in New Mexico that have good broadband, and places, other places in New Mexico where there's just not. And it's not as far away as you might think. I live in Moriarty, but we have very bad broadband access in Moriarty, because I think a lot of it comes to Albuquerque. And so the Rio Grande Corridor has done a good job over the years of developing that kind of technology, but we haven't kept it up. 10 years ago, we were at the forefront, and now we're not. And so I think that infrastructure is important. You see a certain amount of road construction, but a lot of businesses, if they want to manufacture something here, they need to have good access to the interstates, good access to railroad. I actually created the spaceport. When I was in the legislature, I carried the legislation that creates the spaceport. I mean, the newest way to ship products is, around the world is going to be through a spaceport, and New Mexico really has, some opportunity there. We're on the forefront of that. So there are lots of things that we need to do infrastructure-wise, I think, that would encourage business to want to come here, like manufacturing businesses, which we have very few.
Well, we lost about 1,500 jobs in manufacturing, 1,700 jobs in the last quarter, in the last year. 1,700. I know,
yes.
And some of these jobs that went to other states, it's pretty obvious that they moved from here. We lost about 1,500 in construction, but that was due to housing. So you can't blame the governor for that. That happened through. When you look at the government jobs, we lost 2,500 jobs there.
Yes.
That's that's also you can't. There's nothing you can do about that. It has to do with the sequester. So aside from that, service industry lost 2,100 jobs there.
Yes.
In the last year. So these jobs, I think some of these jobs could have been saved via policies, maybe, to say,
well, I
correct
think,
me if I'm wrong there. But
well, for instance, one of the things that, with regard to construction jobs, the legislature appropriated capital outlay money, and the governor has been holding that money through the Department of Finance and Administration. She's not been administering that money, and that's money for construction jobs. It might be roads, it might be schools. There are a variety of things, but the governor has, by executive order, basically held back a lot of that capital outlay money, and so in New Mexico, that's very important. Another thing that we've seen is for some of the capital projects is that they're outsourcing those jobs to companies from Colorado or companies from Texas, and
Correct.
so we're not creating jobs in New Mexico. And so if we have New Mexicans out of work, those are the dollars that turn over in the economy. And so if people in New Mexico aren't working at a good rate, then restaurants don't do well. The movie theaters don't do well because people don't have funds to spend. And so we have to work on that.
I think you're right. And I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, let's focus on the small businesses, and I think specifically the micro businesses. One or two, I think you mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk some of the other stuff, and we'll try to cover as much as we can in the next few minutes. Okay.
Good.
All right. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back with Gary King.